Greetings guys, this is Network Mass. Today I want to demonstrate a comprehensive configuration of a DNS, because in configuring a DNS there are many factors that you must look into or must consider, because it's going to help define how your DNS functions. There are many components that constitute DNS functionalities. So in configuring a DNS, you must consider all those components, because they play a very crucial role as far as DNS configuration is concerned. In your server manager dashboard, you install your DNS by going to manage and add roles and features. Follow the prompt and install your DNS. But I have installed my DNS, so now to configure the DNS, go to tool and then click on DNS. When you have the DNS configuration box open, you see your server name. Open it, you see all these features. All these features play a role in configuring DNS, and they function differently. Now the first one is the forward lookup zone. Forward lookup zone is a portion of a DNS server namespace responsible for mapping the domain names to their corresponding IP addresses. So right click on the forward lookup zone and click on new zone. Click on next. These are zone types. We have 3 zone types: primary, secondary, and stub zone. Now primary zone is like I explained earlier, that a forward lookup zone is responsible for mapping the domain names to their corresponding IP address. The type of zone that you will configure to do that is the primary zone. So the primary zone is the authoritative zone created here. And the secondary zone plays a role by supporting the primary zone to tolerate fault on the server, so that in time of failure on the side of primary zone, the secondary zone can take over the responsibility. So for it to take over the responsibility of the primary zone when the primary zone goes down, there is a need for the primary zone to allow zone transfer to replicate its records onto the secondary zone, so that the secondary zone will keep the record of the primary zone, waiting for future circumstances that will break down the primary zone, and then the secondary zone will kick in, and the hosts that are connected to the DNS server will not feel any change, any effect that happens to the primary zone, and they'll still have their name resolved to IP address, and they'll still have access to resources on the server, on the network. So that is the role of the secondary zone to the primary zone. But the records that the secondary zone keeps is a read-alone photocopy of a primary zones. So you cannot make a change to it, you cannot edit it, you cannot do anything about it. So any change that occurs on the primary zone will replicate onto the secondary zone. So now that is about primary and secondary zone. The stub zone I will explain later in this video, in another video. But the Active Directory here, what is it doing here? It has been checked by default. That is because I have an Active Directory domain controller installed on this server. Now I have been advised to integrate my DNS with the Active Directory by default already. Why? Because the role that the secondary zone here will play, this one will play more better. The Active Directory integration will play more better. If you read here, it tells you that store the zone in Active Directory. It means that how the Active Directory manages hosts on the server is the same policies that will cover the DNS as well. So the security and the policies of the Active Directory will cover the DNS. And then the advantage about Active Directory integration is that it will give your DNS more security. And then hosts that are connected, I will explain later, but that is it. The replication of each record onto the secondary zone will be more better in Active Directory, because many hosts will be connected to Active Directory, and those hosts that are connected to Active Directory has a server on them, DNS server on them, will have a replication, a photocopy of the primary zone of this DNS, and then it will not be only one secondary zone, but many secondary zone will host the primary zone records, thereby making it more resilient and reliable. So that is it. So you click next, give it a name, so this is the name of my DNS server. Finish. After that, you go to reverse lookup zone. Reverse lookup zone does the opposite of the forward lookup zone by resolving IP address to domain names. So you click next. Here, which version of IP address you are using? I'm using version 6, version 4. Click next. Here it asks you network ID. So what is the network ID of your IP address? I hope you understand, you know IP addresses. You have classes, class A, B, and C, up to E. Yeah, but predominant one is A to C. Now A to C, we have class C. I mean, I'm using class C. It's grouped in different categories. We have network side and then host side. On the left side, we have network. On the right side, we have host. So they're asking for ID of the host of the network side. So I will put my host ID, which is 168 and 226. This is the class C IP address. Yours might be class A, class B. You know your IP address, then you give it ID. I'm finished. I created reverse lookup zone. So let's open the for lookup zone. Let's open the primary zone. Let's double click on this one, and then let's click on general. Now you can make a change to your DNS from here. If you have integrated with Active Directory, you click on change here. You can still change it. Remove it if you wait or not remove it yet. Now let me show you something. Because we have integrated a DNS with Active Directory, if you see the dynamic update here, you see that it tells you that secure only. Secure only is added to the security features of the DNS because you have integrated it with Active Directory. And what it means is that your DNS is highly secure. Active Directory manages hosts that are connected to it, and only the hosts that are connected to Active Directory will have access to DNS. So any other host that is not connected to your domain controller, your Active Directory domain controller, will never get access to your DNS. So that is secures your DNS. But if you change it to make your DNS a single, you make it a standalone DNS server, you see the replication of the DNS, this one, to fade away. And the security is telling you that none. It's telling you that none, or non-secure or insecure. It gives you only two, which means if you put it at none, it means every other host can still access your DNS and then get things done here, which are not part of your network. They can still do so. But to secure your DNS, integrate it with Active Directory to give you more security, which is saying secure only. That is advisable. Now you must allow zone transfer. Click on zone transfer and click the middle one, telling you the servers listed on the name server. So you can see the name server here. Click edit. This is my DNS server integrated with domain controller, Active Directory domain controller. This is my domain controller name, sam.local. If you click resolve, you see that IP address is resolved. Any name server in this place is in charge over the DNS that you have configured. And then the replication of the DNS record onto the secondary zone will be done to those servers, those name servers. The name server here will have the responsibility to do that replication, that will receive the photocopy of the primary DNS. Alright, so you click apply, click OK. Now there is another thing you need to know, that you need to configure other servers on your machine, on your host, which is mail server. Now to configure mail server, you must configure first a record, which is new host. So new host says that it manages the primary server that you created by resolving the domain names to their corresponding IP address. It will be in charge about the host machine. The A record is in charge about the host machine. To any server requiring name resolution to IP addresses, will have to access your A record. Your A record is like a personality on your server to do that by resolving domain names to IP address. So we are going to add another service to this record, which is mail server. Every mail server, the mail server will still benefit from the DNS that you created. So there's the need for you to create a record. So to create the A record, let's create mail test. Now mail test Now you give IP address, which is the host IP address. So the host IP address dot 162.226.188. This is my host record, my host IP address. So it's the A record, the same as the primary DNS server. Now add, click on add, click on OK, click on done. Now we created mail test. Now we will create another server. Click on your primary server, primary record again, and click mail exchanger. Now mail exchanger is the one that you're creating. You are creating the you are going to link to the A record. So the A record. So now you type your mail test. Type your mail test, and then you type in the fully qualified domain name. You type the mail test dot what your server name, because you are connecting it, you are linking your mail server with the DNS server. So you provide your server name, you click OK. Now you have created the email server. Now you are going to link it to the A record. So we now click on it again and choose Alliance. What Alliance record does is it maps or it points many servers to your A record, to your DNS. So if you we just created an email server. But how would this email server get access to resolve its name from the its IP address or names to IP address from the DNS server? There is an entity that must lead it to that DNS server, which is Alliance. So Alliance maps DNS servers, many name servers or many servers to DNS. So you create Alliance. So let's call it mail. Yeah. Here we type mail test dot. You give it the name of PC one. Then you click this one. Now you are done with that. Now there is another thing you need to know about DNS. There are times that client will request for something from your DNS that your DNS will not be responsive, will not be able to provide. So what will your DNS do? It must transfer, it must refer the person, the client, the request to the internet outside of your network for that queries or for that request to be met. And so who will do that is the conditional forwarding. Conditional forwarding says that I know the server, the DNS server that I'm sending the request to on the internet. So you give it a name. So it's Google. Type Google there. The IP address of the Google is what? 8.8. Click store this in conditional forwarding in Active Directory. So it has been validated. Now when client requests something from your DNS server and your DNS server has no clue or no record of that, the DNS server will refer you to Google, and Google will now give you an answer. Google will search for the right place and bring you the answer. Now there is one thing too. You need to click on the server. Click on the server name. Right click on the server name and click on property. In the property, we want to check how our DNS is functioning. So you click on the forward. This is the gateway where the request can go out. So you click edit. If the request that comes to your DNS and your DNS have no answer to it and it's referring it to Google, this is the gateway that it will send it through, and then it will go to the Google. Now you put it here. So the gateway of your your server you provide there. So we provide a gateway. Now we want to check that what we have created is working. You also be blank like this. Click on debug login and log packet for debugging. Click it and check every other box except filter packet by IP address. Now go to event log, click on all events. Now go to monitoring. Monitoring, you will see the fourth lookup zone that you've created is the simple query. The reverse lookup zone that you've created is the reverse query, a recursive query. So if these two zones are actually functioning, you will know from here. So you will run a test. So you check the box, the two boxes, and run a test of them. If they are functioning, they will mark here pass, pass. So let's find out. Now all of them has been passed. It means they are functioning properly. So we are done with the DNS. So when you're done with that, let me advise you on something. Click on the property again, go here. You see the one that you just checked. You must uncheck this box again. Otherwise, it will, anytime you turn on your machine, it will keep on congesting resources, records, and then things a lot, and then it will take much space on your server. So now we are done with that. So this is how you configure your DNS, and then you will also troubleshoot it in that area where I've showed you. Okay, so we are done. Thank you for your time. Okay, on another video I'll be dealing with a DHCP, but please do me a favor by subscribing to my channel. It's very important. It will help me to continue posting, and I will be very glad that if you find this video interesting or helpful, you do me also a favor by subscribing and also liking my channel. Thank you. Or liking my videos here. Thank you.